The first thought is that, I don't understand how the moment an artist is embroiled in controversy and when it's the idol's, fault, all of a sudden their talents, their accomplishments and great things they've done and whatnot get thrown in the trash. Like okay, they're bad people now, but that doesn't mean once they're bad their talents automatically disappears or all their achievements, awards and such should be taken away from them. I mean sure, they're bad for a reason, but a lot of the times it's because of their own character and nothing to do with the music. So why can't both things coexist? We can acknowledge their talents, their hard work that led them to reach such heights and their wins, but we should also remember not to use that as a defense in their controversy from people who dislike the artist now for what they did. Also, we can acknowledge that they're bad people now worthy of boycotting, but we shouldn't just forget about everything they did in terms of how good they are in vocals or rapping or dancing etc. Y'all need to remember that we acknowledging someone controversial is because when acknowledgement happens, the people using that artist properly for acknowledgement is mainly for the artistry and such, far from who they are as a person themselves. Not every acknowledgement of said artist is erasing their controversies because we cannot keep the artist out of conversation if they did do some great things in their career. Scandals ruin careers, but it doesn't rewrite the past for us to act all high and mighty if we end up getting mad at people who bring up these achievements or call the artist talented and such, because remember, we're only mad due to the artist being in controversy. If the artist wasn't in controversy and their achievements or talents were brought up, you would brush it off as nothing unless someone said something outrageous related to the artist in terms of their achievements or talents and it's true. Y'all's annoyance comes from the fact that you guys want to believe that people are trying to erase the controversy of the artist by mentioning said talents or achievements, even when y'all are the ones not separating the defenders from the real K-pop stans who hold artists accountable. Also, if you do end up getting mad for someone praising an artist and acknowledging them for their talents and achievements and end up wanting to call them out, then you should think first and wonder if they even know the artist is in controversy or not. If you look at me, I discovered K-pop in 2016, left and then fully joined back in late 2017 or early 2018, and while I do know a lot of artists from the past, Nugu, mid-tier and popular groups, there are a lot of artists who are controversial, be it idols from groups, the group as a whole, soloists, bands etc. That I'm unfamiliar with their controversy since I mainly know their music, meaning that I mainly know artists for their music, and sometimes IDK that these very same artists are controversial, so that's why I say this because the K-pop stan may be uninformed. Also, for me when I look at K-tubers and wonder why don't they boycott certain controversial artists, I mainly wonder for those K-tubers who I've seen talk about artist controversies, but still bring the artists up unnecessarily if the K-tuber hates them. That's why I'm talking about K-pop stans maybe being uninformed on scandals and may only know the music and the other side content of a certain artist until someone tells them the artist is controversial. Y'all should hold the right people accountable if y'all truly do get annoyed at things like these, because not distinguishing K-pop stans will lead you to come after everyone when you need to calm down a little, or else you're gonna end up in hot waters within the K-pop space. If you wanna go after people since you're such a good person, go after people using controversies for clicks. Also, you getting annoyed by K-pop stans who do these things, how do you know that you're not doing the same with other artists who may be just as controversial? That would make you a hypocrite and you'd start looking like a clown if you go policing others. And even going after others who acknowledge artists for their talent and achievements, how do you know they're not acknowledging the artists as controversial? Did you look at all of their activity online to come to that conclusion? And also, why are you annoyed at people like these? Because it makes it seem like you want them to be the same as you, or else they as a person are bad, which is so dumb considering that you should focus on yourself first and see if you're as good as the K-pop stans you wanna come after, and then you can talk. The next thought is that, I've come to realize that people believe certain groups are a part of a certain generation simply because the group has said it, which to me is dumb to believe if you just listen to a group saying that without having your own thoughts, because take this for example. People believe fifth generation is going on and believe that 2023 was the start, so with K-pop stans believing that a group said they're fifth gen so they're fifth gen, even if they may have debuted in the fourth gen, it would be hypocritical to put it honestly, because imagine if a new group came into K-pop and said, we're sixth generation. Would you start believing in sixth generation now, or would you think it's absurd? If you were to think it's absurd for a group to say that, then that's when the hypocrisy comes into play, because the consistency disappears. For me, after listening to a K-pop creator who is more logical than K-pop stans who believe it's 5th gen because Mnet said it, or because K-pop groups say it, even though Mnet is the least trustworthy source ever because of rigging the Produce series, I learned about the idea of a new generation starting with a 7-year contract cycle. It made sense because I believe 3rd gen is 2011 to 2017, so that's about 7 years. Then with 4th gen, I would say it's 2018 to 2024. 2025 would be 5th gen, for me at least, because it's the 8th year. But many K-pop stans believe 2023 with the start of 5th gen, possibly due to Mnet and Zero Base 1. That's what I believe, but for others I feel like there are K-pop stans taking Mnets and K-pop groups saying it is fact, simply because more than one source has said it and so it must be true, and so K-pop stans are blindly believing it. It becomes more annoying to me that K-pop stans just listen to these things, because they want to give groups labels. Like I saw a post on a YouTube community tab that called Boy Next Door the first 5th gen boy group to win SOTY. IDK what was the win for though, but when I saw that I didn't think in my mind, oh congrats to BND, because while yes, them winning SOTY is great, I just had an issue with the first 5th gen boy group, simply because they debuted in 2023, which as I said is the year many K-pop stans believe started 5th gen, so my mind always comes alight when I see these things because 2023 is where it all went downhill with people repeating 5th gen this, 5th gen that. I also wanted to say that, who's to say that you calling a group, X generation group, is factual? Maybe you're doing so to categorize a group in a certain way. You might be a K-pop stan who sees one generation as good and another as bad, and so you saying X group is from X generation, it could be just so you can indirectly say they're amazing just like the gen or they're bad just like the gen, who knows? Meaning that for example if a K-pop stan hates 4th generation, they might classify a group they think sucks as a 4th generation group simply because they want to categorize them as such, even when the group could be 5th generation which the K-pop stan might like more as a generation. Generations don't start automatically because someone says it. If y'all believe a new generation has started and the previous generation maybe wasn't that long, for example, then what's the point of generations anymore? Why not just start a new generation at any point just because we feel like it? Why not just put a bunch of new groups on a dartboard and throw darts, and whoever it lands on, they're the start of the new generation? Because if people can so blindly believe in anyone saying a new generation has started without actually trying to know if it's actually started, because K-pop stans don't care about nuance, then this is the perfect solution for them. The next thought is that, this next take is a, what if scenario, and not really what fans think, but rather a, what if they thought like this, type take, so don't take this take as something K-pop stans have said. I'm just making up a what if scenario. I say that, an artist is a musician from a country if they sing in that language even when they're not ethnically from that country. Like for example, if someone ethnically Japanese is singing in Korean, they become K-pop in my eyes because of language alone, they become K-pop but also still remain J-pop as well, so the K-pop label just adds on to the artist. But for K-pop stans certain things make K-pop groups K-pop, right? And if K-pop stans were to say, ethnicity makes K-pop groups K-pop, for example, again, just an example what if scenario take, not reality, and may not consider K-pop groups like Black Swan K-pop because none are Korean, then that would be flawed to think of, because 99.9% of the K-pop industry wouldn't count as K-pop simply because there are lots of groups like Twice, LE SSERAFIM, Blackpink, Idol for example who all have non-Koreans in the group alongside Korean members. They're no different than Black Swan, who mind you originally debuted with Korean members before having this new and permanent lineup. So if you were to not consider Black Swan K-pop, then you'd be a hypocrite for considering others K-pop. If ethnicity does make someone K-pop in your eyes, then shouldn't groups like Twice be considered only half K-pop with the other half being J-pop for having Japanese members and Taiwanese for Suyu? And also, is their music truly K-pop, as y'all say so, regardless of language if not all the members are Korean? Because if ethnicity is what makes K-pop groups K-pop, then it should also be applied to the music because Korean members are not the only ones singing the song. If ethnicity is all there is to be considered K-pop, then that logic breaks because if someone is ethnically Korean but releases an English song and y'all call it K-pop, then how is it K-pop when the type of song they do, the genre, sound and everything, is something that was invented by non-Koreans in another country? If ethnicity makes someone K-pop, then they should only be singing in Korean in a Korean genre like trot or traditional Korean music. If ethnicity makes someone K-pop, then someone who is half Korean half something else, what are they considered? K-pop because of their Korean side or non-K-pop because of their non-Korean side? If ethnicity makes someone K-pop, does a K-pop group with mixed ethnicity members, Koreans and non-Koreans, stop being K-pop if the non-Koreans got more lines and the Koreans got little to none? I could go on and on with so many more ways to talk about this, but I shouldn't make this take unnecessarily long. But yeah, if ethnicity is all that makes someone K-pop, then the K-pop industry collapses and y'all couldn't call yourselves K-pop stans anymore, y'all couldn't call the genre K-pop, y'all couldn't call yourselves K-tubers, y'all couldn't title your videos K-pop, none of that if only barely maybe. 1% would actually be considered K-pop, because I believe that there are more K-pop groups with non-Korean and Korean members in them than there are groups with only all Korean members. K-pop wouldn't be the K-pop y'all see it as and call it, and y'all would have to make up brand new terminology to use instead of the word K-pop since nothing would be K-pop to you anymore because of the ethnicity argument. It all ends right then and there the moment y'all say this is what makes someone K-pop. The next thought is that K-pop stans don't know what actual harsh opinions really are, and it's just clownery at this point. Like, K-tubers are so focused on the marketing aspect of coming off as cancelable that they'll take any opinion they react to, or any opinion they make and will put it as harsh, even when these opinions say nothing that hasn't already been said before, simply for the fact that the topic at hand may come off as harsh because these topics they use might be unnecessarily targeting a fandom, calling them delulu or saying something about them being toxic. When every fandom is toxic in a way, or targeting certain idols because of what is going on with them, an example being Ayeon overdancing, and many different topics that look harsh on the surface but dig deep into these topics and see the nuance, and everything falls apart. Topics like the ones I mentioned amongst others were never harsh to begin with because many people talk about them, since they're popular topics, but in a hot takes, cancel me way. Nothing is harsh if you're wanting people to cancel you. Harshness comes from speaking the truth even when people won't like it, and not from, let me go after certain people, groups, idols and fandoms so I get cancelled, with you disclaiming in the video about how these are my opinions and if you can't handle them, then leave. How are your opinions harsh when you're literally looking for trouble and calling the toxicity to you the way your opinions are marketed? If you just gave your opinions and moved on with simple titles and not some outrageous marketing tactic, I don't think there would be people coming your way to wanna cancel you in the first place. And yes, I know I've given credit to channels like Rosieri who has outrageous titles for their opinions and never critiqued them in the same way as I do most other channels, but at least they're providing new takes each time with their videos, so they might actually end up saying something harsh that is actually harsh, and not some, said a million times before, take packaged as one. They've always said new things and continue to do so, unlike you guys who are just hiding behind shields of, it's my opinion, be respectful, while actively going after people, fandoms, idols etc. and causing trouble. The, it's my opinion, is not a safety net to protect you when your idea of a harsh opinion is baiting a hook hoping some fish would catch on and attack you. You call your opinions harsh, but how is saying something because you know it'll get a reaction and not because people need to hear it, because if people did need to hear it, then you wouldn't be letting your marketing of your nothing takes do the heavy lifting. If you truly were giving harsh takes, you wouldn't need to do the outrageous marketing in the first place. You marketing your takes as harsh opinions, or opinions that will get me cancelled, already shows me enough proof that your takes are not gonna be harsh at all, because if views are your main goal, then how are you really gonna provide truly harsh opinions when you can just skip to the shortcut of being hot takes that say nothing? You cannot really provide harsh opinions because that would require you to really sit down and think properly, which you don't do anyways, since your opinions are either unexplored fully or explained in the same way as 10 other channels have already explained the opinion. You don't fit in the same sentence as the word harsh, so please just give up. True harshness can only come from people who wanna actually share thoughts and give their proper insights on K-pop, and not from you sharing thoughts just because the video idea of making opinions is trendy and gets views. The next thought is that, on the topic of K-pop opinions, you guys make unpopular K-pop opinions just to anger people and not for the commentary, and it's even more proof when, for example, you guys are here complaining about things in K-pop like short songs, which is funny because if you're giving your opinions on K-pop, shouldn't the nuance be there? If you're out here complaining about K-pop in the context of short songs, for example, shouldn't you be applying the nuance first before jumping to songs are getting shorter? Because K-pop opinions are called unpopular K-pop opinions, meaning sharing your unpopular thoughts on K-pop in a way to get what you want to say across in a mature manner, even if there might be disagreements. It's not about making a take specifically made to ruffle feathers targeted at people who keep their torches and pitchforks ready to attack every time someone angers them. Going back to the short songs example, you guys saying, songs are getting shorter, is not a take to have, because are you applying the nuance here? Saying songs are getting shorter but then also talking about the lack of certain parts in a song is realistically a take, yes, but it's not a take to have, when nuance shows that songs being shorter in length isn't bad and not including certain parts in a song, a bridge for example, won't automatically make the song shorter musically even if the length becomes short, because as I've said before, it's how the song is made and not just about its length. Nuance is also noticing that you guys are listening to K-pop where there are lots of companies trying to focus on TikTok virality with their music, especially with the title tracks, so of course the songs are gonna be made to be more catchier and have shorter lengths, leading you to feel unsatisfied. Nuance applied to a topic helps the topic get seen more in ways that people won't notice on the surface unless they think deeper about it, but for a topic like short songs, saying, songs are getting shorter, is just removing all the nuance just to complain about something that I'm pretty sure people won't wanna see any other way other than, short songs bad, long songs good, because there are K-pop stans out there fixated on the length of a song thinking that longer lengths automatically make a song better, but shorter lengths leave the song to be disappointing. K-pop stans thinking like this are ones who don't apply nuance, and so they don't see that a shorter song can be good because it does everything in shorter lengths, while a longer song can be bad because it unnecessarily drags on to fit a length, and realistically the original length should have been way shorter than it is currently. Lots of K-pop stans I've noticed don't care really about nuance or use it, because then again, why would a hot takes for views video even apply nuance to begin with? They're here to say the same repeated overused and mild opinions for angry comments. Nuance on the other hand only gets people angry because the K-tuber speaks the truth in a professional proper way looking at different things. Nuanced K-tubers are never here to target certain people for a reaction, which I mean sure these K-tubers may come after certain fandoms, groups that the fandoms are a part of and bring these fans to get mad, but that's only because the K-tuber is sharing the truth, not a, if you can't handle it click off, type thing and then proceeding to say nothing that hasn't already been said before. Being nuanced to me for K-pop opinions is being mature, and anyone who uses outrageous titles, talking about, these are just my opinions, it's not the end of the world, or saying something like that as a disclaimer aren't ones who are gonna provide the nuance and takes worth listening to. Rosieri is the exception though, because they're one who brings new takes each time while also doing outrageous titles and these disclaimers. Other K-tubers on the other hand are more for wanting to market themselves as an, I speak the truth, K-tuber rather than actually being one speaking the truth with the nuance and proper thinking. Actions speak louder than words, and so far many K-tubers are more words than doing the action. The next thought is that, people talk about ballads and them being boring and filler B-sides on an album, which is valid to say, but I don't believe the ballads themselves are boring or filler. It's the K-pop artist making them boring or filler because the group may not all be vocally good enough to make the ballad sound good, and also making a good ballad doesn't only require good vocals but the ability to bring the emotions, or if not emotions then the pleasant feeling to the ballad. Ballads cannot be given to just anyone, and so the only reason it becomes boring and filler-like is because of the people who can't sing it well enough to make it good, and not because the song itself is that way. Also, you may think a ballad is boring, but what makes a ballad not boring to you? Is it the fact that the vocals are powerful with a lot of emotions and such? If so, then remember this, that not everyone who does a ballad can do the same type of ballad and it'll come out amazing. Some people are soft vocalists as well, and soft ballads also exist. Ballads are not always emotional and powerful with Taeyeon, Hyolyn, Ailey level vocals belting to give you goosebumps and make you tear up. Ballads are also soft and pleasant to make you feel at peace and calm you down. To give you warmth, comfort, and just being lovely as a song. Another thing could be that maybe the ballad isn't boring at all. Maybe you see it as such because again you may be seeing ballads in a certain way and any other type of ballads not following suit come off as boring. Or maybe you're not a ballad fan and that's why it bores you and you call it a filler, simply for your taste being different, and that's fine because everyone has their own tastes, and not everyone has to, or is going to like a song released with their preferences in certain genres over others. I do understand why you'd think the ballad is a filler in an album because the other songs may have been more hype, more fun, more faster paced and had a rhythm, but some people or listeners who may think the ballad is the track they love compared to others on the album, so you saying it's a filler doesn't make it a filler in reality, but just your personal preference. No song is really a filler song unless it's just some random ass piece of music that is added that nobody understands, because tell me what is filler about the song when you're not the intended audience. And if you do like the genre of song but still see it as filler, then again, it must be to do with your personal tastes because liking a genre doesn't automatically mean liking every song in that genre, because even within those genres there's still gonna be preferences to certain types of sounds and vibes those genres bring, coming back to ballads having emotional powerful ballads but also emotional soft ballads, and also pleasant vibe ballads too. If it's a filler to you, then don't listen to it and listen to the other tracks you may have liked more. Also, it's weird how I only see people call the ballad songs on the album fillers, and it's probably maybe to do with the fact that they come off as boring. But why are only the ballads seen as fillers for this reason? You do know that other songs in other genres can also be considered fillers by y'all too if we look at those songs the same way y'all look at ballads and call them fillers. Who's to say they're even fillers? In an album where the songs may be hype and loud, fun and upbeat or fast-paced with a rhythm to make you wanna shake your ass, ballads being there as well, if it's a chill ballad for example, is a great change of pace to have something soft to calm you down from all the high-energy songs. If that ends up being seen as a filler to you guys, then IDK, because to me we do need to calm things down. Like going to an amusement park and only going on fast rides like roller coasters will make us sick and wanna puke. We need a Ferris wheel or some slow ride in between to help us from getting so sick that we wanna go home. Ballads are that, and if you find them boring then move on. It's as simple as that. The next thought is that, I wanted to talk about popular K-pop artists having more English in their songs than Korean. I do think English can be included as long as it's equal to the Korean or the Korean is more than the English. Not the English being more than the Korean because if the language fails, then what's left of K-pop to be called K-pop, because at that point the only thing, Korean, remaining would be to switch genres and stick to doing trad and Korean traditional music, which require specific vocals, so maybe do trad and Korean traditional music inspired songs or do city pop. If a song is 100% English, then that's fine as long as it's meant to be for a Western audience. If the song is sung in Korean and has more English, then there's no point in it being K-pop anymore because the genre they're doing it in isn't Korean originally, so if the language fails too, then what's left? If the song is more in English than Korean, then what's stopping K-pop companies from just releasing full English music fully? Why not just make them into a global group and remove the K-pop label? And no, I don't care if they, the artist, does things that make stans still see them as K-pop even when the music is fully English, because if they're doing things that are not exclusively K-pop, because maybe other Asian, or Western, or other continents do it too for their music, then what is still K-pop about the K-pop group? There's literally not a speck of dust of K-pop on them besides the Koreans making the music, but even then there are groups with non-Korean members, so IDK what's left for K-pop to be K-pop when the language is the last thing tied to K-pop to make it K-pop, methinks. It's true though what I said about the, aren't exclusively K-pop, part, because people call Cat's Eye K-pop because they do K-pop things, but I will only call Cat's Eye K-pop if they sing in Korean. Someone in a comment section said they have sung in Korean and so I'm taking their word for it and calling Cat's Eye K-pop as well as global. And if the K-pop things fans talk about that makes K-pop groups K-pop despite not singing in Korean, is, dancing and singing, dance practice videos, performing on live shows, and other such things, then other Asian genres do the same, Japanese pop, Filipino pop, Kazakhstani pop etc. If they mean albums with the photo cards and accessories, then that maybe can be K-pop only, but even then other musics can also have merch with their albums or like some accessories and such with the albums. If it's the light sticks, then sure, that can be K-pop only, but then again how can a piece of overpriced light-up plastic, or whatever the thing is made out of, make a group K-pop, simply because they have one? If groups who are K-pop don't have one, the light stick, would you stop considering them K-pop? If a non-K-pop group has one, the light stick, would they be K-pop in your eyes? These are just examples by the way. The language to me is the only thing that can make K-pop, K-pop because doing mostly non-Korean genres, having non-Korean members, doing things that non-Koreans also do in their music, removing all this and just focusing on language alone still will be seen as K-pop in my eyes, because remember K-pop is a diverse sound of different genres being done, and there are still pop-like music in other genres, indie pop, EDM pop, electronic pop, ballad pop, pop rock, etc. Having these pop names, and I only consider these other genre artists as K-pop because of the fact that they sing in Korean and release pop-like music even when they're not idols who dance and sing, and they release non-choreographed music. The K in K-pop to me will always be the language because that's the only thing that I believe that can keep K-pop, and those who focus on making their music more English, possibly targeting them to Westerners, should drop the K-pop label if the company doesn't care much about the Korean language if that language is second compared to the English, and not the main focus in the song. The last thought is that, I saw this comment on a Choco Entertainment, a K-pop agency, video of an audition dance video, and the comment said and I quote, "She deserves to be in the Big Four. She'll be even more popular," which to me, I hate these types of comments. I hate when people comment these things about auditionees from other labels wanting them to be in the Big Three or HYBE because of how big they are. I made a take once before about this with I think it was Elast. And a comment said something about, if they were under a bigger company, and comments like these really annoy me, especially made about groups under companies that have good finances and a budget, and then to go around making these comments makes it seem like you don't think the company the group under can do much at all, even when the company's budget is massive as you can see with their MBs. Newsflash, so many groups have gotten popular in K-pop being from non-Big Three and HYBE companies. 17. Nuance etc. under Pledis, IVE, Sistar, Monsta X etc. under Starship, Tierra under MBK, AOA under FNC, Stacy under High Up, Everglow under Uehua, Now YH, and others. IDKY people only see the Big Three and HYBE as K-pop agencies in K-pop, acting like they're the only guaranteed success companies or better budgeted companies. Remember that the Big Three were not always the Big Three, and HYBE wasn't always what they are today, and it's due to whatever effort they did for them to be at where they are today and having such a status. Also, these are just K-pop companies that are really huge. Imagine if other companies were at the position of the Big Three and HYBE, y'all would be naming them instead. What I'm trying to say here is that these companies are just big labels, and if things were different, they wouldn't be where they are. So for you to be naming these companies are more for them being some of the biggest labels in K-pop and not because of the companies themselves, since I don't see you giving a reason why you want them to be under these labels, since if you look back at this comment, they talked about popularity, which showed they were not talking about anything to do with the company's training in dance, vocals and such, or anything else that can give people reasons why this person said this, but rather just, they're big and you can get big being under them. Also, that comment made me think of the fact that there are people who think like this in the K-pop fandom, but also that these people think that debuting under the Big Three and HYBE will guarantee success, which is true, but why is that the only thing these people see these four companies for, which is popularity? Is that all you see in a label, success? What about the music, the creativity, the personalities of the artist, etc.? Do those things even matter to you? I'm confused because it seems like you only care for popularity with this comment, so if an idol debuted in a group with shit-ass music, or if the idol is untalented and still debuted, or literally anything else, you wouldn't care, right? As long as they're popular. If a company has good resources, funding, finances etc. and can give their groups a long career even if the company is unknown, then who are we to bring up Big Three and HYBE in their comments? What relevance do they have to the topic of the trainee? I understand wanting smaller budget label idols to debut under bigger companies because the idol is talented, but the smaller label can't do much financially to promote them and get the idol more noticed for their talent. I do that too, but if a company is already financially strong, then why are we still commenting on their videos about something that is not necessary to be commented? Choco Entertainment is quite good financially, from what I see, if you ignore the obvious AI additions in their newest MV made for the song Frozen, and Choco is known enough for their YouTube channel to have over 100k plus subs, so please respectfully shut up and stop being annoying. Thank you.